friends, welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to Code Katas episode 38. Some people might tell you that I've already been streaming for an hour, but don't believe them. This is the first time I've gone live today, and we're just starting from scratch. We haven't tried to code anything yet. No, I'm kidding. We had a fiasco. That video is gone, never to be seen again. But we're back, and we're going to keep solving Code Wars Katas. So, hello everyone. Yeah, hello Amadou. Welcome. Hello Steven. It's so nice to see you as well. Yes, those people are liars. No. I was live. Things happened. I had to restart the stream. You'll probably, if you can find that stream, please let me know. You shouldn't be able to find that stream. But we're back. Welcome. Long time no see, Eddie. Thank you, Majestic Eye. The lost episode. The VOD actually wouldn't have been that great. It was really just me struggling to... So if you look under issues, like a recently closed issue, the casino chips one, struggled with that for about 45 minutes, and it didn't happen. And then we read a leak code problem, and I decided not to do that. And then I'm just trying to find the slug for this problem. I could technically re-upload it. I could do that. And then we were just trying to find the slug for this problem, and we can't. And that's what led to issues, but we'll figure it out. Hello, totally for the first time this evening. New topics and pen testing. Yeah. Leak code was all right. It's very like algorithm heavy. It's not fun to me. I don't know. Code Wars is fun. All right. I think we're going to try to do this safest places in town one. However, there are 0 tests for it. What the heck? What the heck? Gosh darn it. Let's see. I guess Andrew Lane, you were going to try. Did you end up figuring out the slug for this particular kata? I guess I'm curious, and the main reason I want the slug is because I generate a thing with all of the links to all of the katas, and but I got this app.currentuser.json token. That's a thing for sure. And hello Neon Tuts, welcome to the show. So we call the code kata API at some point. I think here. Code challenges / the slug. Oh, you suggest... Yeah, so Brandon was the one that suggested that problem. We solved it with a while loop. We did basically like brute force, but in their test, they passed you really big numbers. So yeah. That's so weird. Why did they stop doing the slug? Did their API change? Let's see. Code Wars API. Still trying to find that kata. Oh, did you change your image? Hello, Castawakers. REST API. Get code challenge. ID or slug. I'm old and tired. I mean... Hello, Alex Long Arm Hair. The question of the day is, let's solve this with 10 letters. Yeah, not found, api.codewars.com. Okay, we're just going to solve it. I'll figure out later on what the actual slug is. But let's do it. So this problem is called... Actually, no, we're not going to do it. We are going to vote on it. I totally forgot. We're going to vote. Let's do a straw poll. Look at the rest of the image. From Google? That's weird. Yeah, so I'll link all of these, but we'll say, which 5Q should I do? So this one is called find the safest places in town. And that is here. I remembered something from a parallel universe. You found the slug? I tried that. I guess technically, yeah. We could have just called the API with the ID and got back the slug. Wait. That didn't work. It's a Rickroll. See, I tried this earlier though. Find the safest places in town. Maybe they stopped linking to slugs. No, that's it. I did not mean to link the poll. I meant to just send you a link to that Kata. I'll link the poll in a second. But I do want to replace it with that. Yeah, that's a nicer URL. I like that. All right, let's look for another 5Q. Katas I have not trained on. JavaScript most completed. Reverse inside the parentheses. In this kata, you will be given a string of text in valid parentheses, such as hello. You must return the string with only the text inside the parentheses reversed. Whoa. However, if said parenthesized text contains parenthesized text itself, then that too must be reversed back. Wow. All right, we need that API link again. Is that here? Cool. Now we can get slugs all day long. Look at us. Reverse inside parentheses. Forgot the first R. There we go. It takes 20 minutes to understand what they're asking. It's true. It's part of the problem. So there's that one. We're gonna I'm gonna link you all of these so you can read them yourselves before we vote. But there's that. Reverse inside the parens. It seems very tricky. Probably do it with like regular expressions, but it seems very tricky. Interleaving arrays. I feel like I've done one like that before. It's a 4Q? No, it's a 5Q. See? 5. Oh, brace expansion. Maybe I'll do that one next. I've only been streaming for 11 minutes. But we're going to do a 5Q right now. Create a function that accepts an arbitrary number of arrays and returns a single array generated by alternately appending elements from the passed-in arguments. If one of them is shorter than the others, the result should be padded with empty elements. 5Q. Yeah, I used to call this Caillou, but I was informed that it's pronounced Q. But this one seems pretty cool. Interleaving arrays. It actually might not be that difficult, really. You're just one after the other. Easy enough. Five? Caillou? Oh, and just real quick, I totally forgot. I need to delete a tweet. Delete. Forever gone. Okay, we're back. Yeah, Caillou. Isn't it like a cartoon kids TV show? Interleave. Oh no, is that Caribou? No. It's gotta be Caillou, right? Oh, cool. Brandon actually came up with a solution. So we ended up looking at the solutions. Let me do this real quick. Interleaving arrays. We ended up looking at the solutions that were submitted, and we saw some math like problems, but I could not figure out where they were getting that math from. Like I didn't know what to Google to figure it out. But let's see. Sort them. While the sum is not chips at 0. Wow. That's pretty interesting. I didn't do a elite code. We looked at one and I was disgusted by the fact that I know nothing about binary trees. Let's keep going, and we'll vote between one more. I was furious, and it's my fault. I was like, my recollection of a binary tree was a binary search tree, and so like I couldn't understand what they were showing me. But I was wrong. But now no one will ever know because that video is gone. All right, sports league table ranking. You organize a sports league in a round-robin system. Each team meets all other teams. In your league, a win gives a team 2 points. A draw gives both teams 1 point. And hello, Ashwin. Welcome to the show. After some games, you have to compute the order of the teams in your league. You use the following criteria to arrange the teams. Points, scoring differential, goals. You may compute the following table. Wow, this seems convoluted and hard. Let's put it on the table for a possible thing for me to solve. Yeah, brace expansion is going to be in the poll. Or, oh, no. We're only doing 5Q right now, not 4. String or array problems on LeetCode? I could do that. C# data structures. Okay. This is the other one you have the possibility of voting on. And now, here's the poll. Are you ready? Please vote now. Whichever one gets the most votes, I will attempt to solve. Now, it might be the only one we do tonight. We had a bit of a fiasco. But yeah. And I'll take a look at the 4Q that Andrew linked to. Let's see. Brace expansion. Chip counting? Wait, we already did that. Solve the traffic problem one day. Yeah, this is a 4Q. Expand the braces of the specified string. In the input string, balanced pairs of braces containing comma-separated substrings represent alternations that specify multiple alternatives which are to appear at that position in the output. Am I being rickrolled right now? What's happening? Okay. We're given this. Oh, it's like a expansion. Yeah, so that they do this in Bash, brace expansion. Cool. So this takes this and applies it to each one. And then this and applies it to each one. Wow. That looks fun. Not right now, but that looks fun. Okay, how we doing? 2 votes for interleaving arrays. 1 votes for the others. We should get at least 10 votes. There's a decent number of people watching. Yeah, go ahead and open up an issue, Andrew, so we don't forget about it. If you have no preference, vote for interleaving arrays. That way we're not going to be here for an hour. I could solve that one in just a few minutes. I could feel compelled to save the speaker. That's true, right? Your morals might come into play for safest places in town. Swaying the votes. Thanks, Mattia. There is spam detection, and you can't there's duplicate IP detection, so you can't vote multiple times from the same IP. Hello, Alka. Were you testing to see if your bot was here? Oh, cool. Straw poll status. That's slick. People really don't like the sports one. Yeah, 0 votes. Okay, while you all are voting, I am going to give a shout out. No, I'm not implying vote corruption. But huge thanks to all of my YouTube members and patrons. Shout out to my latest YouTube members, Jamie and I forget your name, but it'll be on the screen soon. So Coding Garden is brought to you by viewers like you, and here they are. Well, it's black for a second, but here they are. Maybe one day. Yeah, there we go. So shout out to all these wonderful people who support me. Jamie, who's the latest wallflower, and who else was it? Jonas? Yeah, shout out to Jamie and Jonas, our latest members. I have no advertisements enabled on the channel, so your support through Patreon and YouTube memberships really helps. Yeah, double Y. we had to do that last time because there's just way too many for it to scroll past them. And Alka is a Patreon supporter. You'll see his name down here eventually. But I'm going to take a quick break. Keep voting on the poll. If someone needs a link to the poll, send them a link to the poll. I'll be back in 6 minutes. Hello? Hello. I'm back. And it looks like Safest Places in Town is the winner. Hello? Hello? And while I was away, Randomness got an amazing score. It's not the highest we've seen, but it's a very high score. They got a 99.92 on the leaderboard. That's probably them right there, that big old seedling. Sorry, Steven. Sorry for scaring you. Did I miss anything else? Thanks for the follow, TX Tycoon. Much appreciated. A good place to start for coding a Twitch bot? Well, you should probably start with TMI.js, which is the maintainer of TMI.js is in the chat, Mr. Alka. There's a quick start right here on the homepage. It's very easy to connect anonymously without auth, and you can just listen for messages. And then if you want to connect with auth, you just need to generate a token, and then you can pass that token in. And I will direct you to more detailed documentation. It's good that that site is down and is no longer... Wait, yeah. TMI.js... Wait. Is it available? Alka, did you check? Is tmijs.org available now? Can you buy it? No, the server's just down. Or did you buy it? I don't know. But there were some issues with the domain that... because Alka didn't own it, so he couldn't put anything there. But if you go to the docs and go to posts, go to 1.4.2, and then take a look at events and commands, this will tell you everything you need to know about TMI. Cool. All right. Yeah, we did make a video, but it's very, there's like 5 episodes. It's like the the way of making a scaled bot that can work for multiple channels. You don't really need that. It's actually very easy to make a simple bot that just talks in one channel. Yeah, great work, Randomness. And hello, Alvinos. Welcome to the show. Randomness? I don't know. And thanks for the follow, 3 Nimvyar 3 mail. NVR email? And thanks for the follow, Avinos. Please drop me. If you do exclamation mark drop space me, it'll drop you. Would I recommend JavaScript or Django? So Django is Python. I always recommend JavaScript because you can do a lot of things with it. You can build backends with node.js, or you could build front-end websites with just plain old JavaScript. So that's usually what I recommend. A good IDE for Java. I don't really do Java, but JetBrains is what a lot of people use. This thing. Yeah, IntelliJ. There's also WebStorm if you want to use it for web programming. It is not available. Unfortunate. It really is easy. And hello, evil Pisces. All right, we're gonna do safest in town. It's gonna be a tricky one, and it kind of reminds me of. Oh, that's wrong. It kind of reminds me of some of the advent of code problems. So let's review this problem. Which one in the vote? Find the safest place in town. Can we look at it full screen like this? Okay. So Laura Bassi was the first female professor at a European university. Despite her immense intellect, she was not always allowed to lecture publicly. One day, a professor with very strong beliefs against women in academia sent some agents to find Bassi and end her career. Help her escape by telling her the safest places in town. So you have to implement a function called advice. It takes in agents. Agents are coordinates. So like 0, 0, 1, 5, it's a coordinate in a grid where that agent exists. And then in is the grid size. So this is a 5 by 5 grid. In this case, n would be 5. So the function should return a list of coordinates that are the furthest away from all agents. So basically, you plot out where the agents are. And then you, for any given cell, you say the distance to the nearest agent. So for this cell, the distance to the nearest agent is 4. For this one, 4, 4, 4. And so you need to return an array with the coordinates of those cells, which is where it's the furthest distance from all the agents. It's a little like Minesweeper, maybe. So basically what my thought process is, we take this initial array, we put it onto a grid, so now we know where all of the agents are, and then for each cell in the grid, we calculate the shortest distance to an agent for that given cell. We do that for every single cell, and then we find the cells with the biggest distance. Yeah. And Gene with a 99.71, great work. Cool. And so edge cases, if there is an agent on every grid cell, there is no safe place, so return an empty list. That makes sense. If there are no agents, then every cell is a safe space, so return all coordinates. If n is 0, return an empty list. Okay, performance. There are 200 random tests with n less than 50. Inefficient solutions might time out. All right, I think we can do this. I absolutely think we can do this. So let's bring it down locally. Well, console, save. New file. Actually, let's get the name of it. I got this. I'm gonna do it. This is the name. Find the safest places in town. It absolutely reminds me of like an advent of code problem. Does it remind you of an advent of code problem, Alka? Because I know you did a lot of advent of code problems. Sublime Text. I used Sublime Text a long time ago. Then I switched to Atom for a while. And now I've been using VS Code, which I like a lot. A little, yeah. I don't know. And actually, let's see if we can get their tests working. So we have its and expects. Let's just get, actually, let's do this TDD style. Let's do it. We're gonna actually write some tests. What made me make the switch? So I switched to Atom because I liked the plugin ecosystem. Similar to that, I switched to VS Code because of the plugin ecosystem, and now VS Code is like way more performant. I won't say way. It's very performant compared to Atom, especially when opening like very large files. And it's just getting better and better with more support and IntelliSense built in. So there's that. All right, we're gonna create a file. We'll call it index.test.js. I'm using Chai, so I think we could probably use Mocha. Though if we use Jest, we can run the tests inside the editor. Let's use Jest. Episode 38. We're going to init it. And hello, Pranjal, who asks, should we avoid using break and continue in production? It depends. I think break is totally fine because that will just exit a loop early, and it's somewhat easy to follow. Continue is where things get tricky because what a continue does is it stops iterating at that one line in the for loop and then keeps iterating. So people find that pretty confusing. I think breaks are very useful, but it depends. And being used in production is really just like a working on a team? Is the code confusing? That kind of thing. So we're gonna install. I'm gonna install chai and jest. The reason I'm installing chai is because the tests are already written to use chai. So we'll use the chai expectations with the jest test runner. Do something like that. And it is attempting to call our advice function, so that's great. At work, I use jest. EPX jest. Nice. All right, so we have several failed tests. And, oh, actually, well, the reason I did that was because if you use the jest plugin, it'll actually run your tests inside of VS Code, which is pretty sweet as well. Jest in watch mode failed too many times and has been stopped. What? So it gives me this. No, chai is not my own function. So chai is this expectation library. Typically, when you're using jest, you just use its own expectations. But because I pulled this code from Code Wars and they're using chai, I'm just using chai. So chai is a library for doing things like expect. So this is expect this result to deep equal some value, or expect this result to deep equal that. So chai lets you do those expectations. Who names these things? Jest, chai, all those things? I don't do TDD at work. I just test as needed. If you're using Prettier with ESLint, you need the Prettier ESLint plugin, which makes them work in conjunction with each other. I actually have a project set up that way right now. So when ESLint formats things, it's using Prettier settings. TDD really depends. I'm a pragmatic tester, is what I like to say. And hello, AWS, welcome. Okay, I think this is running the test. What's happening here? It says debug. Let me try doing this. I'm gonna open VS Code in the root of this folder and then try running it. There we go. Nice. So these tests are failing, and I believe we can see the error, advice is not defined. So the first thing we need to fix is we need to get this advice function going. And I'm just going to define that in here in my index. So I'll say function advice that will take in the coordinates. Well, actually, I think it takes in the agents and the size. And then I'm just going to export this function and import it into the other file. So let's say module.exports equals advice. And then now in this file, I can say advice equals require index. And so now advice is a function, but we're seeing expected value that received undefined. So our advice function is returning nothing. So we got to make that work. So let's get this first test working. I believe if I put an X there. Stop runner. I need a way to disable tests. What the heck? There's like this X embedded in my code. Really what I want to do is I just want to disable all the tests that I'm not currently working on. That's a really weird bug. Here we go. So it should just be running this one. Okay. What do I think about enzyme for React, and how does it test a component? Enzyme is cool. React testing library seems to me easier to use and easier to set up. The Create React app now includes React testing library, whereas before it didn't include enzyme, and you had to install it yourself and configure it. But yeah, let's take a quick stretch. And thanks for the follow, Tanil. And Erwin says, thank you for the feathers tutorials. You're very welcome. Thanks for dropping by. If you do ! VS Code, you'll get a link to all my settings and plugins and such. All right, let's get this working. So we have like a super basic test that takes in 1 coordinates, 1, 1 with a size of 2. So let's build out our grid. So we look at the description for this problem. Basically, we need to build out this grid, and then we need to put anywhere there is an agent. So really what I'm thinking is we just have like a grid, which is an object. I mean, technically it could be an array of arrays. What? I use Create React app at work. I mean, technically we could say like grid is an array of arrays. Yeah, so I mean, technically I could do like array from, and we can take in the length here. Array from length, and then for each element I need to return an array of that length as well. So we'll do this. We just want to return array of length dot fill with zeros. And you know what? I'm just going to run my tests in the terminal because it will actually output my grid. So this gives me a 2x2 array. So it's an array of length 2 where each element has 2 values in it. So does that fan that we hear during... No, it's my heater. And usually I have it off, but it's very cold, so I'm keeping it on. But what that allows us to do is say like grid at 0, 0. And that's like x0, y0. And then you could do like grid at 1, 0. So this gives us the grid. Awesome. Now we should iterate over the agents, which are coordinates, and we increase the number of agents at that location. So if we just do like a simple for loop, I is less than agents.length. We're going to get the x and y coordinates, which is going to be agents at I. And then we'll say grid at x at y plus plus, meaning there is an agent at that location. So now if we log the grid, any location with an agent in it should have multiple values. So in this case, we're passing in, and actually, so Marco says that underscore confuses me. It doesn't need to be there at all. But so we're passing in 1, 1. So there's an agent at location 1, 1. And so now our grid is this, and at location 1, 1, the value is 1 because there's one agent there. I think that's what we need to do. Let me just clarify on the description. The function should return a list of coordinates that are the furthest away from all agents. Okay. And so for this particular scenario, the cell at 0, 0 is the safest because it's the farthest away from this agent here. Did my screen just flicker? I'm being hacked. So now that we have the grid with the location of all the agents, we should compute the distance to the nearest agent for each grid cell. So we'll do something like this. Let's extract this into a function, the create grid. So let's just do like create grid with the given length, and that's just going to return this. So do that. And now I want to create a new grid, and I'm going to call it distances. So we could call this like agent grid. So this is a grid of where all the agents are. And then I want to create a new grid that's totally blank that calculates the distance to any other agent, and we'll store the distances in there. So we'll call this distance grid, and that's going to be create grid with the same length. So we're going to start off with an empty grid, and then we just need to iterate over all the coordinates. So we really just need a for loop that goes, we'll have our x that starts at 0 and goes up to length. And then we'll have an inner for loop that does the same thing, but does it for y. And then we have to say something like distance grid at x at y equals min distance to agent. And you pass in potentially like xy and the agent grid. So we need to figure out what's the minimum distance to an agent, minimum distance, and then we're going to store that in the distance grid. And then after that, we need to return the cell with the smallest distance. So here we'll just log the distance grid, like that. And then we need to implement this, the minimum distance to an agent at the given location, given this grid. So really we would calculate the distance to all agents. And really, do we even need the agent grid? We could just pass in the coordinates of all the existing agents. But that's for future me to find out. I'm going to catch up on the chat. There's a lot going on. Let's see. A stupid solution to make your test not run is to simply comment yeah, I know that. I know that for sure. You absolutely could just comment the tests out, but this is a way to mark them as pending, so that way they don't run. The best break reminder for Windows. I don't really use Windows, but there is a tool called iLeo, which is very similar to my break timer. Yeah. Is there a way to call an ES6 function compiled by Babel and have it pulled into a script tag? Now I want to call the above function inside another script tag. Yeah. Basically, I mean, if you compile something with Babel, I don't think by default it's going to create modules or scopes or anything like that. So, I mean, technically you could just get a file that's outputted and it has the same function names. And if it's in the browser, if you put that function reference right above your script, you should have access to that function. If you're using like Webpack and like a module bundler, then you need some way of getting access to that function. I've used Rollup for that in the past instead of Webpack. Because Rollup has a way for building, I mean, similar to Webpack, but it was easier to configure anyways for me, for Rollup. But it has a way of generating like a module file, generating a file where it's like a global variable, different things like that. I don't know. Does this have real world implications? Probably. I don't know what though. Flutter or React Native? It depends. I haven't really worked much with either. I mean, I've done some React Native, and I've done basic stuff with Flutter. It depends. If you're familiar with React, maybe try Flutter because it's similar. Hello, Sean. Welcome. The screen did flicker. Yes. What happened to my van? Oh, it's in my driveway. I just haven't worked on it. And Mike with the Patreon pledge, avocado. No way. No way. So that's awesome. Let me show you my Patreon levels just real quick, because $25 I believe is an avocado. Yes, John's an avocado. And as an avocado, you get to suggest or vote on one live stream topic per month. So right now there's only 2 other avocados. So you have a pretty good chance of suggesting something that I will actually have to stream. And I very much appreciate you. Though I just forgot the name that popped up. But we'll look at it again in a second. Thank you so much. Why do we need Prettier if ESLint tells us the errors? Because Prettier can format your code with, or at least I've seen, it does a better job at formatting your code for like new lines on attributes in HTML, or like new lines on function parameters, different things like that, where ESLint, you probably can have rules that tell it to do that, but Prettier does a better job. Yeah. And hello, Cananello. Welcome. Hype! Hype! I don't like the way formatters format my code. You could configure them to do it the way you like it. Cool. All right, so my question is, what is the distance? Like, are we computing, like, taxi cab distance, where, like, it has to, can it travel diagonally, or does it have to travel up like so? Yeah, I'll tell you really quick. So I mean, you can see the descriptions on Patreon, and there's similar rewards for YouTube members if you want to do it on YouTube instead. But avocados, Mastermind with the raid. Welcome everyone, 51 people. That's awesome. Welcome to the show. What's up? You caught me at a weird time. We're talking about my Patreon. But yeah, so the $25 supporter, you get to vote and suggest on one live stream topic. So all of the avocados have to agree on the topic. And now that we have 3, it's an odd number. So there will be a decision made. And then tractors, I'm going to buy 10 tractors, but tractors get 1 hour of direct video chat with me per month. Where you can ask for code help or get advice or different things like that. Yeah, but welcome everyone from Mastermind. I'm usually not talking about people giving me money. This is the Coding Garden, and this is my Wednesday show where we solve code katas. If you go to codewars.com, you can see all the many different types of katas. They range in difficulty from 8Q, which is the easiest, all the way up to 1Q, which is the hardest. Right now, we're working on a 5Q called Safest Places in Town. I'll send you a link, and you're welcome to try implementing this while I try implementing it, and share your solution if you come up with a solution. But welcome, everyone. What were you working on, Mastermind? Never mind. Yeah, the shout-out command isn't working right now. Though, does Alkabot have a shout-out command? I don't know. There's an ESLint rule for this, Alka, to have a space between items. The Manhattan distance, is that what it's called? I think I called it the taxi cab distance. But what I'm trying to figure out right now, and so this problem, I've already explained it like 3 times, but basically you're given an array of coordinates. Each of those coordinates has an agent in it, and you need to determine where in this grid is the furthest away from any agents, and then you return the coordinates of any cell that's the furthest away. And in this scenario, the nearest agent is distance 4 away, so you return those coordinates. So that's what we're working on. And right now, I'm trying to determine what the distance is. Because if it can be diagonal, that'll be a little bit trickier. But if it's the Manhattan distance, meaning you have to travel, like, each block, we can figure that out. But that's what we got to do next. There's a mathematical formula for Manhattan distance. We could look it up. Let's do it. Yeah, thank you. And actually, yeah, let me create a clickable link. Everyone should check out Mastermind.io. They do DevOps types things. Don't know what they're working on today, but definitely check them out. Cool. And thanks for the follow, Colby. A 12-week intro to coding with Python. Oh, so it's not DevOps stuff. That's awesome. Well, we're doing JavaScript here. I didn't mention that yet, but we are doing JavaScript. And so on this Code Wars website, you have where you can put in your code, and then they have some pre-written tests here. And what I like to do is just bring it all down locally. So I have a file here where we're implementing this advice function, and then we have our tests, and we're running the tests with Jest. But yeah. Radiate distance from each agent and fill the grid. Yeah. Python, very cool. Kubernetes, and hello, Creative Pigeon. Yeah, I'm streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. That's why we got rated. Yeah. Okay. I wonder, does it mention that it's the Manhattan distance? Oh, okay, so it's the Manhattan distance. The formula is called taxicab geometry. Oh, yeah, there it is. Manhattan distance. Cool. Let's look up the Manhattan distance formula. How do I calculate Euclidean Manhattan distance by hand? These are not good results. Let's go to Google. Try that. Let's just look at Wikipedia for taxicab geometry. And so this is basically it. Like without taxicab geometry, you would compute like a diagonal line, but it's called the Manhattan distance because like in Manhattan, it's a grid of streets. So you would calculate for each unit, it's actually two units. So up, right, up, right, up, right. And right now, thanks for the follow, Wisdom, and thanks for the follow user Q. But right now, what we need to do in our calculation is we're at a current XY, and we need to find the minimum distance to any one of our other agents. And now that I think about it, we actually don't even need this agent grid. I think we just create the grid, and then we pass in the current. Let's put it in an object. So we'll pass in the location that we're at, which is the current cell, and we want to find the minimum distance to any number one of these agents. So create a function, min distance to agent. We have location, and we have agents. Really, we need to iterate over the agents, find the Manhattan distance, and then we choose the minimum one. Let's just say like min distance equals infinity. And then we'll just loop over the agents. Let's take a quick stretch. Basically, use the triangle except the slope. Okay, we can do that. So, actually, well, this is a longer break. We'll let it happen. Sum the absolute difference of coordinates. So x2 minus x1 plus y2 minus y1. Cool. Let's just do agents.forEach. And we're going to get the x and the y. And we're going to get the distance. And that's going to be the absolute value of, so x2, let's call that the agent. So x2 minus, I mean, I should look on Wikipedia, but we're going to use what Ashwin says. If it works, props to him. If not, we're going to go back to Wikipedia. So we'll do the absolute value of x minus location.x plus the absolute value of y minus location.y. And that's the distance. We'll say if distance is less than the min distance, then min distance equals distance. And then this whole thing will just return the min distance. Like that. So if we've done it right, basically we create a grid. We then iterate over each cell, and we have a list of where all the agents are. And for any given cell, we determine what the minimum distance to an agent is. So now we're logging that grid. So we should see a grid that says the distance to any given agent. So yeah, so this one, so the agent is here. Anytime it's 0, then that means the distance is that cell. There's an agent in that cell, and so let's do this. Let's stringify it. Will it show it like on top of each other? Well, I kind of wanted to see it like on top of each other, but if you think of it as a 2x2 grid, like dot, 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 the top left corner is distance 2 from the bottom right corner. Cool. What does infinity mean in JS? I think it's just the maximum. Well, actually, it's more than the maximum value. It's like a literal representation that is like a really big number. The world traveling salesman problem. Yeah, I've heard of that before. Wouldn't this cause a race condition? What do you mean, Andrew? And thanks for the follow, 88 Opus 88. Welcome to the show. I want to see this algorithm on this Wikipedia page. Oh, the for each? No, I mean this isn't asynchronous, so the for each is gonna finish each function before it calls the next function. If you think about it, like this function execution gets pushed onto the call stack, and then it'll get popped off before the next one gets invoked. So that's the distance between 2 points in I guess, is it Euclidean geometry? But in this case, we're doing taxi cab distance, which is just this. Oh well, so that does it. And I think at this point what we need to do is just find the coordinate with the largest number, and we return that. Cartesian coordinates, yeah. So we're going through and we're calculating this distance grid, and will that do anything different? No, it won't. What we could do is, as we're iterating, we can keep track of the largest distance we've seen so far and keep track of its coordinates. Math.min of agents.map. Well, I would actually do it as a reduce. Because that allows us to do it in one iteration, whereas the map has to do one iteration to calculate all the distances, and then math.min has to look at all of the values to find the minimum one, I would think. So, I mean, one thing we can do is let's turn this into a reduce. Whoa. No, sorry. Return agents.reduce, and we're going to take in the min distance and those two values. And every time we just return the min distance. And in this case, we just return distance. And this starts off as infinity. Who cares about performance? They do. They mentioned in the Kata that your solution will need to be performant. Okay, so this should do exactly the same thing, but I mean, all we've done is turn it into a reduce instead of setting a variable and doing a for each. Yeah, it still works. Cool. And so now we need the coordinates of the min distance. Let's do this. We'll say like min distance coordinates. And we'll also have a variable for max distance, because we want to find the distance that's furthest away from the agents. Can I do negative infinity? So we get back the min distance. We'll put it in the grid. Though as we keep writing this code, I'm thinking more and more that we don't actually even need a grid. Oh, so this is a code kata. I'll link you to the one that we're trying to solve. It's this one. It's called Find the Safest Place in Town. And hello, Ember. Welcome. See you later, Evil Pisces. Thanks for hanging out with us. Okay, so we're iterating. We can say if the min distance is greater than the max distance, then we're going to say max distance equals that min distance. And we're going to say min distance coordinates equals an array with these coordinates in it, x comma y. So if we haven't seen it before, we're going to reset it. Else, if that min distance is equal to the max distance, then we're just going to push it into the array. So we can say min distance coordinates dot push an array with x and y inside of it. And then we actually don't need to do this, and we don't need to create the grid. And I think we're done. So we'll just return this. But if I log it, it should be an array with just the coordinate 0, 0, because that was the minimum the maximum distance. Yes. So we have a passing test. I have a feeling that the rest of them are just going to work now. we didn't really do it TDD style. We kind of just made it work. Yeah, that works. So an empty list for size 0, because basically we start off with an empty array. And if the length is 0, then we're just going to get back an empty array. So that's good. It works for the example description. Yep. It returns an empty list for agents everywhere. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it should. Because, oh, no, it doesn't. So what do we get back? We get back everything. So we really only want to do it if the distance isn't 0. Yeah. So if min distance does not equal 0, and all of this stuff. Cool. So basically what happened there is they passed us agents that were on every single square. And so if the distance is 0, we don't want to include it. Returns all coordinates for only ignored agents. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we kind of just solved it. I think the one thing we might have to work on is performance. We might have to do some optimizations so that, for instance, if they pass us an array with all of the agents, there's no use checking every single cell. So, yeah, but let's plug it into Code Wars and see what happens. Yeah, the leaderboard is new. So earlier I was streaming, and then I had to leave, and then when I came back, the leaderboard is brand new. No, I mean, I know why the test passed, because, like, my solution solved for all cases. Like, by default, I wrote a solution that works for everything that they were going to test it for. So I know why they passed. No, not because I'm a genius. I mean, technically, I could have made each test pass one by one, but this was easy enough to do. But like I said, um, this is, well, I didn't say this, but if we think about complexity, this is an in squared solution because we have in times in. And with really large grids, this could take a very long time to compute. So drum roll, please. Let's see what happens. Fail. Works the same as the reference solution. Expected this to deeply equal that. Huh. What's the reference? Let's try the reference solution. So if we pass in into the third, I would say in squared times im. So length is the size of the grid, and so that's definitely in squared. But then for each element, we're doing this number of operations. So agents is a different length. We can call that im. So im times n squared is what I would say, which is bad. That's still bad. It's very not performant. Oh no, that you did not offend me, Ashwin. What did you say? No, I was just explaining. Okay, it says it doesn't work for the reference solution. Let's try that. So these are our agents. Let's add a test. It works for the reference solution. So we should expect that if we call advice with those agents and a grid of size 6, we should get back these coordinates. And they have this like sorted helper function, which sorts the array. So deep equaling will do that. Well, it works for that. Huh. All right. Let's make sure we covered all of our edge cases. This is JavaScript, not Java. Though on the CodeWars website, no. So for this problem on the CodeWars website, you can use either Python, Haskell, or JavaScript. So if there's an agent on every grid cell, there is no safe space, return an empty list. So we're handling that. If there are no agents, then every cell is a safe space, so return all coordinates. Are we doing that? So min distance to agent is going to return infinity. That's going to be the new min distance. We're going to reset it, and we're going to push in every coordinate. So that actually should work. If n is 0, return an empty list. We're handling that. If agent coordinates are outside of the map, they are simply not considered. Oh, we're not checking that. We need to make sure they're within the bounds. There are no duplicate agents on the same square. Oh, that's good to know, too. So we could do an initial optimization here. So because we know agents can't be repeated, we could actually say if agents.length is equal to length squared, then just return an empty array. Length times length. because if the number of agents is equal to the number of cells, then it's empty. So that's an easy optimization. Did I do it right? I did not do it right. Returns all coordinate for only one ignored agent. Oh. Well, this is the case where this agent is actually outside of the grid, right? Because if the grid size is 1, then they're outside of the grid. Huh. Maybe we should filter the agents beforehand. So let's just say agents equals agents.filter. And we're going to get the X and the Y. And we can say we only want if X is less than length and Y is less than length. Well, that worked. So basically what we did is ahead of time, we got rid of any agents that are outside of the grid, and that changes the length of the number of agents. And so actually agents length becomes 0 in that one particular scenario, which is not equal to 1. So that did it. See you later, Sean. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's one thing we needed to handle. Let's see. Oh, no, I did the wrong thing. Let's try that. It's taking too long. It's going to time out. Oh, it worked. So Kevin, what they said was there are no duplicate agent coordinates. That's why I decided to do that. So there are no duplicate agents on the same square. So that's an easy optimization. And we did it in 9 milliseconds. Not bad. Not bad. I missed that too. I was initially coding it because I thought there could be duplicate agents, but now that we know that, we can just filter it out early. All right, we're done. Great work, everyone. And thanks for the follow, Witherby. Cool. All right, this is a problem where I'm not going to try to solve it in a different way. We're just going to submit final, and then I'm going to try to do a 4Q. I misspoke. You're absolutely right, Ember. 9.5 seconds, not milliseconds. 9,000 milliseconds. So, I mean, it's not the fastest in the world. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Akash. If you do GitHub, you'll get my GitHub. Yeah, so these are other people's solutions. Let's see what they did here. Got their result. See you later, Akash. Thanks for hanging out. If n is greater than 0, easy enough. The safest value. The furthest Manhattan distance possible is from corner to corner. Right. Make it a one-liner? I probably could, honestly. Let's do it. So this reduce can absolutely be turned into a one-liner. We can take the distance here and put it here. No, we need to put it in a variable. Performant enough, yeah. In Barkoga, Code Wars katas are just coding problems. Similar to like Leak Code or other things like that. I think they're more fun than stuff like Leak Code. But if you go to codewars.com and then click on kata, they have various difficulties. So 8Q is the simplest, 1Q is the hardest. We just do a 4Q? No, we just did a 5? What did we just do? We just did a 5Q. And so you can choose your difficulty. They have tons of different supported languages. I use JavaScript, so we've been solving them with JavaScript. And then they have lots of different tags, but they're basically just coding problems. An infinity long one-line. Yeah, okay, so now what we're going to do is, let's make it a one-liner. I'm all about it. How can we do this, though? We need to put this in a variable. We could actually say, and thanks for the follow, Barkoga. We could set a default parameter. let's do this. So because this is a reduce, we get access to the accumulator, the value, the index, and the array. And then we're going to put that there. And so now we can use the distance. So this should still work, but it allows us to turn this into like a ternary. Nope. Argument name clash. What? I've never, in all my years of JavaScript, I've never seen that error. Oh, of course. Like, I was like, what? Yeah, 2 underscores. You can't have 2 variables with the same name. But I've never seen it say argument name clash. Maybe because I've never tried to do that. But let's call that one $sign. Basically, I needed to put something. Okay, so that works. So what we can do is we just need now to turn this into a ternary. So we're going to return distance less than min distance, return distance, otherwise min distance. So that if else is now a ternary. Very good. And now we can make it a one-liner. So we can get rid of the return statement, get rid of that. Whoa. Very good. Enable wrap. Okay, I'll do that. But it's harder to figure out. But okay, so we one-lined that function. Now, I think we can set another default parameter. So let's say all agents, and then we're going to create a parameter called agents, which is all agents.filter, like that. Wow, it works. Now we could possibly do like a ternary. And thanks for the follow. Hello, I'm the doctor. Welcome to the show. And then we need some other default parameters that we're going to just add in here. This allows us to, so this is using the fact that in JavaScript on a function, you can give it a default parameter. And by doing that, we don't have to have these lines that are defining variables. We can just define them as default parameters, like so. And then let's turn this into a ternary. So we'll say agents.length is equal to length to the second power. Then we're going to return an array. Otherwise, we need to return some thing. Basically, right here, we need to put all of this code. But how do we do that? So we kind of need to turn this into like a reduce, I think. This is going to be the tricky part. Like, how do we turn this nested for loop into a one-liner? Arrays as default parameters can be, they definitely can be. So if something else is trying to call my code and passing in extra parameters, then this just breaks. But I don't think they're doing that. I can combine x and y into I. Oh, that's a great point. Because they're always the same thing, so I don't really need a nested iteration. I just use I and I. But and thanks for the follow, Mr. Boston. But we do need like 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. Parse the x and y from I. Oh, so yeah. Yeah. So you're iterating from 0 to length times 2, and then each value you convert to an xy. Yeah, a flat map. Oh, I didn't know it was called that. Though I kind of want to do like a reduce inside of a reduce. That could be fun. Let's actually do this. I'm going to go back to that. We'll convert this. Let's make sure the code is still working. Reduce squared. All right, Alka's got it. That's going to give us our x and y. So if we say I equals 0, while I is less than length times length, or length squared, I plus plus, and we don't have this inner loop, and then we'll say let x equals x mod length, and let y equals math.floor of I divided by length. All right, does this work? Works. So we're on a roll here. And I think we need to reduce. We need to create an array that we then reduce down to min distance coordinates. I mod length is already defined. What do you mean? I don't know, but here we can do this. If we say array.from yeah, I think this will do it. Yeah, no worries. Where the length is length squared, and then we actually could we get back I here, and we could return an object with x and y in it. This is going to be ridiculous. This is going to be so ridiculous. Like that. So x, and then we have y, which is this. So that's going to give us an array with all of the coordinates in it. And then we want to reduce that. And we're going to be reducing to min distance coordinates. And min distance coordinates starts off as an empty array. And then we don't need this default parameter anymore. And so we get min distance coordinates. And we get the location. And we do this stuff. And instead of this is just location, because it has an x and a y in it. All right, we're getting weird with it. Does it still work? Oh no, it's broken. It's very broken. X is not defined. Oh, right here, x comma y. So actually, we'll go back. We'll destructure it. So this is x comma y, and then this we literally just destructure it to be x comma y, like that. Whoa. Oh no, sorry. This needs to be element and then index. Okay. Let's see what Alka said, though. So, well, x and y are coordinates. I always mean index. W is just whatever you need it to be. So you're describing like how you made these like single letter variables. Awesome. So now that we have that, let's turn this if-else statements into a one-liner. I think I'm going to do similarly to above. So we have the index, which we don't need. We have the array, which we don't need. And then we have the min distance, which is going to be min distance to agent can be done in place. We need to set it, though. Kevin's on the edge of his seat. There's probably a better way to one-line this. I'm really taking advantage of default parameters. I think we can do this. That's our min distance. Should still work. Yeah. And now we need to turn this into like a ternary. So say return. If this, then max distance equals min distance, and we actually want to return this. Else, we want to push in. Well, else, if this. I might need to wrap these in parentheses. I'm just going to do it just to be safe. Because really we need this wrapped in parentheses. So else, if this, then... oh, I lost my code. What were we doing? Oh, sorry. We're pushing it. Push it. And then return the min distance coordinates. Else, just return min distance coordinates. Yeah? Did I break it? I didn't break it. That's, oh man, that's so weird. Okay, so now that it's a one-liner, I think the last half of the first ternary could be a double and instead of another ternary. See you later, Dana Chu. Thanks for hanging out with us. So since I'm returning min distance coordinates in both, (0.007) what? Please explain that reduce function. Which one? Though, I'm not gonna mess with it. You're probably right, Alka. Wait, okay, let's see. Min distance is not equal to 0, and min distance is equal to max distance. And then push it. But I'm losing this scenario where we reset it. So I'm not always returning min distance coordinates. If we found a new min distance, we need to create a new array with only that coordinate inside of it. For the second half? Oh, I'm gonna leave it. So we can get rid of that. We can get rid of that. We're on our way. And the last thing is to do this. Location and agents. So now I need to take this. Min distance to agent. Here. Oh, buddy. So we're doing agents.reduce. We don't have... So we're declaring a new x and y. This, I think, just needs to be location. Actually, we could call this x1. No, x2. And y2. And then this now becomes x2 minus x and y2 minus y. Wow. And now we can do a ternary. So now we can say return, if that's the case, then we want an empty array. Otherwise, we want this little buddy. Nice. So if I don't word wrap it, we basically have a single line function. It is 577 characters long. And there's definitely a better way to do it. So let's see what Alka's saying. Thank you, Ember. That was fun. I can't believe we did that. Expression, true expression, else expression, and push. I'm not following. I'm sorry, Alka. Though, yeah, we can minify this now. I think DuckDuckGo has a minifier. And then I'll submit that. Paste your code here. Minify it. Nice. It looks very messed up. That's not a min. Oh, it didn't create smaller variables. Oh well. Okay, so that's my solution, but I totally didn't leave the original solution, so we're just gonna watch it go back to the original solution. That was fun though. GG. And we'll throw this down here. Awesome. All right. I was just holding Control Z, or I mean Command Z. Reduce accumulator expression true. Expression push or something. I don't know. Here, I'll put it in a gist. And you can correct me. YouTube rewind. Just hold Command Z. Wow. I'm pretty proud of that. It's pretty good. Might be my best one-liner work yet, even with the weird nested ternary that Alka says we can do better. But even with that, I think it's good. All right, I'm gonna do one more kata before I go, and I think I have a... What? Semicolon? Oh, apologies. That was not meant to happen. Yeah, I see it. This thing. When did that show up? Yeah, I have no idea when that showed up, but that shouldn't be there. Okay. Go through higher order functions someday? Yeah, that'll be fun. I have done some videos in the past, but it would be good to do a review. Okay. All right, we're gonna find one more kata to do. I've been streaming for an hour and 44 minutes plus the hour that I was streaming before that. But I guess we'll try a 4Q. So Andrew did submit. Was it the parentheses one? Brace expansion. Let's look at it. Oh, this one's probably very hard. This is like bash brace expansion. So you're given an expression like this, and you need to expand that into like all possibilities. So like this says, oh wow, and it's even like nested. Have you tried it, Andrew? This looks really hard. I don't know if I want to do this. Maybe I'll do another 5Q. Does anyone have the straw poll from earlier? See you later, Gleros. Thanks for hanging out. I'm just gonna do this one. Interleaving arrays. Because I've been streaming for a while, and I kind of want to go. So this had the second most votes earlier. So we're gonna do this one, interleaving arrays. And next time, we'll do a 4Q. When I'm rested and prepared for that kind of thing. Okay, so interleaving arrays. Create a function that accepts an arbitrary number of arrays and returns a single array generated by alternately appending elements from the passed-in arguments. If one of them is shorter than the others, the result should be padded with empty elements. And I guess by empty, they mean null. So 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, nothing here, so null. Easy. Easy peasy. But this is the one we're going to solve. If you'd like to solve it with me, feel free. And then you can share your solution. But let's do it. We're going to bring a file down locally. I got this. I think I said that about the last one, though, didn't I? I got this. And we pretty much got that one. The last one, I mean. Okay, let's try it. So we have this function. It's going to take in an arbitrary number of arrays, and then it needs to zip them up. I got this. Say it again. Zoom out a little bit. Actually, can we do this? So interleave like that should return that. And then an empty array returns an empty array. Okay, so we're just gonna test this first one. I'm gonna start up Kata, which runs my code in the editor. Right now, my function is returning an empty array, but we need to return an array like that. I don't like word wrap though, because word wrap would have still kept it all on the same line, whereas this is formatted to be on separate lines. Okay. Honestly, programmers that program with word wrap might be insane. I don't know. I just really don't like it because it's a misrepresentation of the actual code, of the way the actual code is actually laid out. But first up, we need a way of taking in an arbitrary number of arguments. So like in this case, we're passing in 2 arguments, 2 different arrays. Whereas in this case, we're passing in we're passing in 3. So the way we can do that is with the rest operator. So here we can say args, and that's going to take in an arbitrary number of arguments and put them into an array called args. Alka says, I use word wrap for certain situations, but I usually just write code in a way to not need that. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that you should like format the use an automatic formatter. I think I use word wrap. I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just like let's take for example this code from earlier though, like when I was trying to do that one-liner without word wrap, it's like this, right? But if we put word wrap on, I mean, this is a really bad example, but there's kind of no semblance of what needs to be where. Whereas if I was doing it without word wrap, I'd probably do something like this. Like the ternary is here, so this needs to be on the next line. Or even like this. Ternary here, new line there. That like that. Array.from, so we can even like new line that. And then after the array.from, which is here, we're calling the reduce, we could new line that. So you can use a tool that automatically does this, but I way prefer this rather than word wrap. And also because I'm presenting my code, I'm like way zoomed in. You'd probably be coding at like, I don't know, that level. How to space nested ternary operators. A lot of people put them all lined up like this. All right, I think Alka fixed my what's the word? Extraneous ternary. Oh, you made no codes. You just there we go. So this is that same code but nice and formatted. And now that it's formatted in this way, Alka is going to fix this nested ternary to be better. That's his plan. All right, let's do interleave. Let's undo all that stuff we just did. So args is an array that has all of the arguments. And so we need some place to store up the interleaved. Let's just call it result. And we need to iterate up to the maximum length of the array. And we're going to alternate. So let's say like max length equals math.max of args. We need the length of all of the arguments. Args is not a keyword, so I could call this all the arrays. The thing I did here is called the rest operator. So it looks kind of like the spread operator, but it's not. It's the rest operator because it says take the rest of the arguments that were passed into this function and put it into this variable called whatever you want to call it. Before this existed, there was this special keyword called well, and there still is. It's still there. But arguments. So arguments is a special keyword in JavaScript that will give you all of the arguments that were passed into the function. This is just the ES 2015 way of doing it. But I'll call it args. And so I'm thinking we need to find the max length because that's what we need to iterate up to. So if I can just say lengths is args.map. We're going to get the value, the index, and the array. But we want to destructure the length and just return the length. So this gives us all the lengths, which is 2, because there's 2 arrays with length 2. And then we find the maximum, which is just math.max, And now we iterate from 0 up to the max length. So I'm just going to do a for loop for now. So I equals 0, while I is less than max length. Motivation is asking, am I right in saying that the rest operator is used for function arguments and spread is used for all other situations, like inside a function? So the way I think about it is like when you're using it with an object, you're spreading the properties of one object into another object. So ... inside of an object is a spread. ... here is rest because you're gathering the rest of the arguments. I think the other thing you can do is, and actually I'm going to do it right here. The rest operator, because lengths is an array and math.max accepts multiple arguments. Let's look at the signature. So it doesn't accept an array, it accepts multiple arguments. So what I could do is like lengths at 0 and then lengths at 1. But that would be very cumbersome. So the rest operator here, and is this spread or is this... this might actually be spread because we're like spreading the arguments into the function call. Is it... yeah, I'm just saying it's spread. But these are the multiple places you'll see it. So here, it gathers up all the arguments that were passed into the function and puts it into an array. Here, it takes all the values that are in this array and spreads them as arguments to the function. So I would call that a spread. And then the ... inside of an object spreads properties into an object. And thanks for the follow, KinCode. I'm doing basically v.length right here. So I'm destructuring the length property from the array because the array is the third parameter to a map. Oh, and then that's another way to do it. Yeah, so you see this pretty often with destructuring, where you're pulling off the values from an array, and then you only want to put the first two in variables, but you want to take the rest and put that in another variable, and that's the rest operator. So to me, it's pretty clear what it's called in every scenario, because here, put the rest of them in this variable. Here, spread them as the arguments to this function. Here, take the rest of the arguments and put them in here. Because one thing you could do is say like first arg, and then you're getting the rest of the arguments to put in there. Oh, you're right. Thank you, Andrew. This actually should be v.length. So we can destructure it there. Because we're getting each array like that. Thank you. Hello, Newtcax. I don't understand anything. How am I supposed to learn all this? We are in the advanced stages of Coding Garden right now. So we're working on this 5Q. This is a very hard problem. I mean, not very. This is like an intermediate problem. And at the same time, I'm throwing out all kinds of new JavaScript features. You don't have to know any of this. If you're just getting started, you can start with much simpler problems and work your way up. That's what I did. I've been coding for over 15 years, so it takes a long time, but you are absolutely capable of this stuff. So you can check out 8Qs, which are the easier ones, and they have simpler problems. So let's look at this one. Is in divisible by x and y? So you have a function which takes in a number in, and you have to return true if it's divisible by x and y, and false if it's not. So by solving small problems like this, you gradually build up your skills and you can get better. Though that said, if you don't know how to code at all, you gotta learn. So check out Free Code Camp. This is a really cool site for learning how to code. And in terms of books, what should I recommend? JavaScript for kids, yeah. And so if you want to learn JavaScript. Free Code Camp is a good way to go. This is it. You can find a free PDF online if you don't want to buy the book. Oh yeah, Nature of Code too. So that's by Sir Daniel Schiffman. And Alka has his right there. And you can actually read it for free online. But if you have the money, you can buy the book. But the cool thing about Nature of Code is it's very visual, and also the Coding Train. So if you've ever checked out or heard of the Coding Train, their YouTube channel by Mr. Daniel Schiffman, Coding Train. And he does a lot of coding videos. A lot of them can seem very complex, but some of them are simpler and for beginners. But P5 is a very visual way of coding. Like this coding that I'm doing right now is just like, we can't really even see what's happening. We have to kind of have like a mental model of it. But with something like P5, you can actually draw shapes on the screen and create physics and make those shapes like interact and things like that. And so Nature of Code is the book that he wrote, and that describes how you can write code to emulate nature and things like that. So check it out. No, he hasn't been knighted, but he's a great dude. Oh no, he's a doctor actually, Dr. Daniel Schiffman. So not a sir, a doctor. PhD. Lots of resources. That was a fun little aside. We're gonna get this problem though. We're gonna get it. Andrew's been coding for 3 years. Very good. No need for args. You can just use arguments. Yeah. So I mentioned that, Avi. So arguments is, I would call it the old way of doing things. A lot of people don't like this because it's not very like explicit. Whereas using the rest operator is slightly more explicit because you're saying take all of the arguments and put them into this variable. But yeah, you can do it either way. Oh yeah, and Alka linked me. Yeah, okay, here we go. So I was working on a problem earlier, and Alka saw how we could do it better. So basically, is that what I was doing? This revision. So I had a ternary that said if the min distance is not equal to 0 and the min distance is equal to the max distance, then push it into the array and return the array. So they removed that and just said push it into the array, and then we always return the array. Wait, what? Let's take a quick stretch. To be honest, I'm through basic courses on Udemy, like 40-hour courses, but after finishing them, I'm still not able to use the stuff. That's why I feel so dumb. Yeah, absolutely. Just keep trying. I think that's the main thing. Is I mean, a lot of these things you see online will say they'll teach you how to code in 10 days or 6 months or something like that. It takes a long time. I mean, you can definitely do useful things after that amount of time, but to be really good at it and really understand things, it takes a while. Is arguments a design keyword in JavaScript? Yep. Yeah, it is. So it's absolutely a keyword. Like I don't think you can create a variable called arguments. I guess you can. That's really weird, but it is actually a keyword. So it exists by default inside of a a function. That's actually one thing to note. If we made this an arrow function, one of the aspects of arrow functions are that there is no arguments keyword. Not a thing. So it's throwing an error right now. Yeah, you can't see it, but it's, I believe so. Or is it? Yeah. So with arrow functions, you absolutely have to use spread. Am I misspeaking? Someone let me know if that's true. I think that's true. And one of the reasons why it exists too, because it got introduced around the same time as arrow functions. Move the push into the expression statement and then remove the need for the ternary. Yeah, I want to look at it here. So if this, that, return it. Else, that, push it, and return it. Beautiful. That's yeah, that's great. If you compare it to mine, I was doing that and returning it. Yeah. I understand now. Very good. Yeah. This is called Quaka.js. So this is a plugin for VS Code that will run your code inside of VS Code, and it will show you like console logs and things like that right where they are. Daniel says that's correct. I think in reference to arrow functions do not have the arguments keyword. Arrow functions do not have arguments. Cool. Getting arguments from I would think I was getting arguments from Quaka because it does weird things to like wrap your code and run it. So yeah. Yeah, it could have been the module wrapper which got turned into a function. Yeah. Okay, what are we doing here? So we have found the max possible length, and if we log this, we should get 3. 1, 2, 3. Because for this first example, we're getting 2 arrays. Yeah, you can't override this. You could override arguments. I do full stack. So like, I work for a software consultancy, and last week I was designing a database and implementing a RESTful API. Well, actually, it's more of a sockets API with feathers. And then this week, I was just doing a ton of React code. I'm full stack. And like yesterday was a bunch of design work, like style tweaking. So yeah, I do all the things. Okay, so we have a max length. We need to then push into result. So, and we need to like alternate between the arguments to push them into the array. So I could say something like let current equals 0, and we'll say result.push current at I, and then current, oh no, sorry, not current at I, args at current at I. So we're keeping track of which array we're pushing into the result. And we really need to do this mod args.length. So this gives us 1d. Okay, so we actually don't want to increment I every time. We want to increment it every other time. So yeah, let me catch up. Kincode says, thumbs up, just trying to get an idea of what people do. I'm looking to switch careers from healthcare, so it's a new world for me. Yeah. And it varies wildly. So I've been in the industry for a long time. My first job was as a desktop developer. So I was building like Windows desktop applications. And then eventually I started building web APIs and then web apps. And I really like to do all the things. But a lot of people are just front end or just back end. Arguments was added to ECMA in 1997. Yeah. Okay, so we don't just want a regular for loop because that's only going to get the value from each array. What we could do is push twice. So take that increment. Well, actually, here's what we need to do. We need to iterate the number of, we don't need current. We need to iterate the number of, arguments. So let's say like, j equals 0 while j is less than args.length. And so we'll just say args at j at I. Cool. So this does it. And this is the simplest case where you have two arrays of the exact same length, and you say 1c 2d 3e. So I have 1c 2d 3e. Easy peasy. Now, where things get interesting is like this. So we have 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, and then when we go to this array, we actually need to see null and not undefined. Let's call this value. And we'll say if value is equal to undefined, then value equals null. Make it a let. So that way it'll push null instead of undefined. So that looks good. All right, now what happens when we interleave three different arrays? We get 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, 3, 6, 9. So that looks good. And then when we interleave an empty array, we get an empty array. Okay, I think we've done it. Let's put this into Code Wars and see what happens. Where is it? This one. So it should work for the sample tests. All right, what about a full attempt? We did it. What a great way to end the stream. I'm so glad it worked on the first try. Okay. One versus all is saying Harvard Core CS50 is very beginner friendly and it's free on YouTube. It's very good for learning fundamentals. Yeah, absolutely. They stream on Twitch too every now and then. CS50 TV. I think it's this one, CS50 TV. It's a cat, I believe. Yeah, it's the icon is a cat. So they stream every now and then, and they might actually be streaming like rebroadcasts, but it's still cool. What just happened on Twitch? Just a second. I'll allow that. They're like the mod caught one of the questions. I'll allow it. We'll look at some example solutions in a second. Let's catch up. So Orcs Twitch left a surgical rep position. Very cool. I'm actually working on some telehealth applications. I can't really talk details, but I am a coder building things for hospitals. Yeah. Might use a stack for an O of N solution. Let's look at some of the solutions that were submitted. I'm very happy with my solution, but yeah, let's think about the complexity though. So this outer for loop is going from 0 up to the maximum length of any of the inputs. So this, let's just call this in. And then this inner loop is going from 0 to the number of arguments. So really this is m times n. It's not n squared, but it's m times n. operations plus in, which is still m times in. But yeah. Yeah, KinCode is saying that's exactly what I wanted to get into, healthcare apps. And Eddie is saying telehealth pretty much said it all. Doctors doing online consultations. Yep. It's the way of the future. Basically, I mean, and a lot of hospitals allow this now. You can actually have a doctor's appointment where you're just meeting over like a Skype call. It can't, I don't think it can be Skype because it has to be HIPAA compliant, which is the laws around electronic health data and how that is transferred and viewed and used over the internet. But yeah. Cool. All right, let's look at some of the existing solutions, and then I'm going to go. This was a super fun time, but let's see. So yeah, they used the REST operator. They found the longest length by using a reduce. So this reduce right there is about the same as the way I did, like I mapped it, and then I found the max. We technically could have written a reduce to find the longest length of any given array. And then for each one, if it's undefined, push null, otherwise push the value. Yeah, so their solution is very similar. Teledoc, that might be one name for it, but telehealth is the general term, but it's all about getting help from a doctor remotely, or like over the web or the internet. Patient confidential, yeah, and this is huge. Like, you can't just go out and build an app for a hospital. Like, there's a lot of things you have to do to make sure that your application is compliant and you're doing things in the right way. Yeah. All right, let's look at this one. So this one finds, it's similar to what I did. So find the maximum length. And then we're reducing an array of length in, which is the maximum length. And we're just concatenating onto the array. So the accumulator is an array. And each time we're iterating over the arguments, which are each of the individual arrays. And if there's a value there, we get it. Otherwise, we get null. That's pretty slick. Oh, wow. They required in Lodash and did lodash.zip. And then replaced all the undefined values with null. Wow. All right. I think we're done. This was super fun. Did anyone attempt this solution while I was working on it? Lodash.zip is like object from entries, right? I think like Lodash.zip, I feel like does the actual interleaving. Because like they literally just pass it in, and then the reduce concatenates them all together? I don't know. But it's very curious that you're actually allowed to require Lodash into these code kata solutions. I've never seen that. Maybe I have. I don't know. Eddie is saying, with the high cost of healthcare, you would think the care would improve instead of every time getting worse. I don't know. Yeah, thanks, Kenko. Thanks for dropping by. Okay, we should raid someone. For those of you that care, all the code I wrote tonight, I'm going to push up to GitHub here, github.com/codinggarden/code-katas. I'll push the code there. And if you have suggestions for katas for me to solve for future episodes, I do this every Wednesday. You can open up an issue on this repo, and I will try to solve them. Let's do a raid. Cool. Yeah, and thanks, OrcSwitch. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, the difficulty is 8 to 1. 8 to 1. So 8 is the easiest. 1 is the hardest. I've only solved a 1Q. I've only solved one 1Q. It gets very hard. Oh, you're already here on Twitch. So if you're watching on YouTube, head over to Twitch. We're gonna do a raid. Let's see who's streaming. The Alt F4 stream is live. Callow Creation is live. Let's just see on the Live Coders team. So they're working on a chatbot with Node. They're playing Overwatch. Is that what that is? Yeah, Overwatch. Gooseman is on a hold. Freeman, I don't know what they're doing. Let's see if there's anyone else in science and technology. Let's add a filter for programming. Cool. And while we're doing this, shout out to all my members and patrons. Gooseman is back. Yeah, we might raid Gooseman. Gooseman? But shout out to all my members and patrons. Wait for the flash. You're gonna see their names come up on the screen. But Coding Garden is brought to you by viewers like you through your support on YouTube and Patreon. Much, much appreciated. Shout out to my latest members. What were their names? Jamie. Jamie's the latest member. And who else? Jonas. Thank you, Jamie and Jonas. Guzman. React.js. Oh, wait. What are they doing? React.js and tests and stuff and more stuff. Maybe. I want to find someone with less viewers. Let's find somebody with like 2 viewers. We're going to go spread the love. The Coding Garden love. My favorite language is definitely JavaScript. I do that. I've been doing that for about 5 years now. Before that, I was using C#. But started JavaScript, and I have not stopped since. Chatbot stuff. Chase talks JavaScript.
Oh shit, it's like everywhere. There's a million copies. There's 79 instances of this. Like, doing any work in this file will make you want to never be,
Who else? I guess we could raid a non-game streamer. What else is happening? What's happening on Twitch right now? Gooseman is the superhero with the power of crossing streets very slowly. Let's just browse. Trick to G? What's that about? Retro gaming. Viewers. Low to high. Practice X? What's SC? SC2? Oh, StarCraft. Hello, Bob. What do you think, Bob? Should we raid this person? Let's do it. Why not? I've seen people play StarCraft. I've never played StarCraft myself. StarCraft is too big brain. What? All right, we're gonna go watch some StarCraft. That'll be fun. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for watching. This was fun. You might have missed it earlier, but we streamed for like an hour. That stream is gone. Nobody's ever gonna see it again because of things that happen. But this was fun. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for all your code suggestions and your questions. Alka has the raid message, so copy that raid message. And when we go into Practice X's channel, we're going to use that raid message. Barkoga, maybe next time, but tonight we're going to do Practice X. So, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.